And we're back. Welcome inside. Getting loose with Leon. Motor racing news, picks without access. You got a big old Leon Oliver sitting alongside you on this Saturday, April 26th, year of our Lord 2025. We are ready to get some picks as NASCAR rolls into Talladega. Little super speedway racing. Always on the lookout for the big one at Talladega. We're looking forward to that tomorrow. But in the meantime, make sure if you're not already doing it, you see here down below, like and subscribe on all those channels, X, Instagram, here on YouTube, Rumble as well, Facebook, all that good stuff. You don't want to miss out. You don't want to mix the picks. We've been on the heater. Yeah, struggled a little bit last week. We did get the Lando Norris winner in F1. Did go winless week before that, but before that, we were 6 out of 7 weeks hitting the winner there. So make sure to join in. You don't want to miss out. You don't want to miss this cash. And I apologize for my absence. The picks have been up, but we just haven't done this particular show in a little bit. I was on vacation, had some other things pop up. I feel like the wait for another episode of this show is about the same as Shador Sanders' wait to get picked for the NFL draft. But I digress. Let's get into it and go and see who we like this week for our winners. Of course, F1 off this week. They'll return next week in Miami. But let's see what the Big O has for his picks. Big O Picks brought to you by absolutely no one. Make sure if you're interested in sponsoring this, get on board, winning some money, you can shoot a email to info@letsnotdothispodcast.com or hit us up at letsnotdothispodcast.com and you can jump on board and we can help you, help us, help you. All right, let's take a look here. Tomorrow, rolling into Talladega, the Jack Links 500, 3 o'clock tomorrow on Fox. And correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it's the last race on Fox, like Big Fox, not FS1. I believe it's the last race on Fox this year before things shift over to Prime Video for a bit and then over to NBC. By the way, can't you just wait to get that phone call from your elderly uncle, grandfather, father, whoever? Where the hell is the goddamn race? And you have to explain to them that it's on Prime Video in a couple of weeks. That's going to be a lot of fun. Just getting you ready for NFL and Thursday night football, right? All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the picks here. Kyle Larson, I know. He's never won on a super speedway. But this guy was dominant at Bristol a couple weeks ago. I mean, you give him four wheels, he can drive anything whatsoever. He's going to get one. It's just a question of when. And I think this track suits him well. He finished third at Atlanta back in February. That was his best finish in a super speedway in his 49 career starts here. He's got 2 wins on the season. I believe he's third or fourth in points right now. He's third in points. He's having a great year. This streak is going to come to an end at some point. And you give me Kyle Larson at plus 1,600 odds, I'm going to take it any day of the week, anywhere. So Kyle Larson, you can get him right now on BetMGM at plus 1,600. This is a great opportunity for him to break the streak and finally break through on a super speedway. Those Hendrick cars always do well on super speedways too. He's just always gets snake bit. There's always a question of bad luck, getting tied up in an incident. Something happens. But I think this could be the week that he breaks through. So I like him tomorrow at plus 1,600 on BetMGM. Next up here, Chase Elliott, staying with the Hendrick stable. Plus 1,600 for him as well on BetMGM. He's got 2 career wins at Talladega, both during the next-gen car. The next-gen car era was the last one, back in 2022. And that last Darlington win should not be on there. Forgot to take that off from previously reusing the graphic. That's what happens. Oh, well. But Chase Elliott, plus 1,600 at Talladega. I like that for tomorrow as well. Next up here, Daniel Suarez. Daniel Suarez, I like him as a top 10. You can get him right now on Bet Rivers at plus 195. Plus 195 on Bet Rivers. Daniel Suarez for the top 10. By the way, rocking the Wendy's Frosty card this week. Interesting paint scheme on that one there. I do like how that one shakes down. But he's got 4 career Talladega top 10 finishes and 3 top 10 finishes in the next gen car era. So 3 top 10s in Talladega going back to 2022. This is a guy that has had some bad luck. We know about the incident with Catherine Legg earlier this year. We won't talk about that. Unfortunately, we've seen the remarks that are directed her way online after last week. We won't get into that. We'll leave that be. But Daniel Suarez had some unfortunate luck. That Trackhouse team not necessarily performing the way a lot of people thought they were going into the season. But this is a track where he's had success. And if you're looking for a guy to sneak in and come away with a top 10, I don't think he's going to run up front the majority of the race. I think this is a situation where maybe after a couple of wrecks, later on, toward the end of that last stage, he can kind of sneak in and grab a backdoor top 10 here. I like to call it in golf terms Rory McIlroying a top 10 because Rory, of course, finally got his Masters, but so often in majors, you see him kind of like, where'd he come from? He backdoors a top 10 finish. I feel like Daniel Suarez has the ability to do that this week at Talladega. So I like him right now at plus 195 on Bet Rivers. And then finally, my long shot pick of the week. And you're going to say I'm crazy on this one. And I partially am, but hey, what are you going to do? My long shot, Ryan Preece. You can get him right now at plus 5,000 on FanDuel. Plus 5,000 for Ryan Preece right now on FanDuel. Look, he is, I believe, 15th in the standings right now. But that car has had speed. And I know the RFK racing team, not necessarily having the season that they want to have so far. I know Brad Keselowski has had his struggles, but hey, he's a guy that's done exceptionally well at this track over the years. Maybe to take a flyer on him this week. But I like Ryan Preece. That 60 cars had a lot of speed. He's rocking the Celsius paint scheme this week. I believe Kroger is like an associate sponsor this week for him. He's got 2 career top 10 finishes at Talladega, one back in 19, one back in 2023. But his form so far this year is what I'm looking at. He's got a top 5, and he's got 3 top 10 finishes. I think this is a track, listen, when you look at places that have surprise winners, it's usually super speedways. It's Daytona, it's Talladega, maybe Atlanta. There's always a big one around the corner that can take out, a quarter or half of a field. You never know. And I feel like this race presents an opportunity for a guy like that who's had speed, not necessarily, running up top all the time, not necessarily contending for a win every single week, but a fast car with a good driver. And you saw him finish here and get a top 10 in that Stewart-Haas crap that he was driving before. So if he can do that in lesser gear, he's got a good team here backing him. He's got good equipment here. And I think the chaos that these kind of tracks present gives a great opportunity for a guy like Ryan Preece to steal a win at the end here. So if you're looking for a flyer, I love Ryan Preece at plus 5,000, and you can get that right now on FanDuel Sportsbook. And of course, at Talladega, we would be remiss, if you guys aren't really racing fans, or maybe you're just getting into it, and they talk about this track and the banking and how steep it is. Well, here's an example of what 33 degrees of banking looks like.
That's 33 degrees. This is Talladega.
Started that one about halfway through that video there. My apologies on that one. But yeah, the banking at Talladega, absolutely unreal. When you see that track and you see just how crazy it is to be standing there on the edge. I mean, it looks like you're literally about to tip over. Imagine being in a race car and you're going into, those turns, you're the 180 miles an hour. Probably feels like you're going to fall over and just being pulled around by the G-force. Absolutely unreal. It's going to be a fun race to watch tomorrow. So steep banking on the banks there at Talladega. So let's recap real quick picks for this week. My favorite, he's not the favorite to win overall on the books, but my favorite this week, Kyle Larson, to finally get that win on the Superspeedway, plus 1,600 right now at BetMGM. His teammate, Chase Elliott, plus 1,600 right now on BetMGM as well. Once again, forget the Darlington slip up on the graphic there. Just forgot to replace that. And then Daniel Suarez, plus 195 on Bet Rivers for a top 10 finish at Talladega tomorrow. And then, of course, my long shot, my underdog of the week, Ryan Preece, plus 5,000 right now on FanDuel. That's going to do it for this week. We'll be back next week. We'll take a look at F1 at Miami, of course. That's always going to be a fun race. And we'll talk a little bit about F1 and what's going on with Lando Norris at McLaren. Do they have to push the panic button a little bit because his form isn't necessarily there? Oscar Piastri on top of the standings. He looks to be the dominant driver for the boys in Papaya. We'll talk a little bit more about that next week. We'll talk about NASCAR as well. We're excited. Guys are practicing in Indy. Of course, you saw Kyle Larson getting to the wall at Indy as they get their preparations and everything underway for the 500 coming up at the end of May. So fun times right now in the world of motorsport. And who knows, by the time that we do this show next week, maybe Shador Sanders has an NFL team. I don't know. We'll see. All right, we'll see you next week on Getting Loose with Leon. Adios.